Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're jumping into a worldview called Lifechanyuan. It offers a pretty unique map for navigating our existence, but it starts by making us face a very stark and maybe even uncomfortable truth about life itself.
So, right out of the gate, this philosophy hits you with a powerful idea that every single life, from an emperor down to the rest of us, is this short, fleeting journey that usually ends with a bit of pain and confusion. It basically frames our entire existence as a tragic play where we're all just temporary passengers in a real hurry. But here's the twist. What if you could flip that script? What if you could turn that tragedy into a comedy? That's the central promise we're digging into today. Lifechanyuan says, yes, there is a way to transform this whole experience, a path to finding real joy, freedom, and a meaningful destination. Okay, so let's get into it. The journey begins where this philosophy says most of us are just stuck, lost in what it calls a boundless sea of suffering. And what's really crucial here is that this isn't some external force. No, this is a sea we create all by ourselves, with our own minds and our own actions. So what's the first thing feeding this sea? Complaint. But we're not just talking about a little negativity. It's described as a poisonous arrow that we literally shoot at other people. This philosophy says it wounds their spirit, it sparks conflict, and it just poisons the whole atmosphere of our relationships. And then you've got mistrust. This one's pretty powerful. It's not just a little bit of doubt, no. It's framed as a dagger that kills without spilling blood. It's the force that cuts friendships and love apart, creating these huge gaps in what could have been perfect connections. And oh boy, here's a big one we can all probably relate to. That stubborn, desperate need to be right. This philosophy argues that from tiny arguments in a marriage all the way up to wars between nations, the root cause is often the same thing: people clinging to their own viewpoint, totally refusing to see any other way. That rigidity, it's a primary source of our suffering. So if we're all swimming around in this sea of suffering, how do we find the shore? I mean, where are we even supposed to be going? This worldview lays out two very clear, very distinct purposes for our existence, and they operate on two totally different levels. And this is where it gets really interesting. There's this split. First, you have your life with a small L. That's this journey, right now. The goal there? To be happy, joyous, and free in the here and now. But then there's life with a capital L. That's your essential spirit, your soul. And its purpose is to grow and evolve so it can move on to a higher space after this life is over. Now, to get to that first purpose, happiness in this life, you've got to know what's in your way. And the source material is super specific about it. It points right at things like jealousy, greed, and suspicion, and especially that exhausting, endless chase after our own desires. These are the roadblocks to joy. So, we know the destination, but how do we actually get there? Well, here's the real game changer. According to this philosophy, the main tool isn't what you do, it's how you think. The real work is all about fundamentally changing your consciousness. And this is absolutely crucial. The source argues it's not our money or our status that truly defines us, it's our mode of thinking. The idea is, if someone operates with a divine level of consciousness, they become divine in their essence. But if you're stuck in basic, instinctual thinking, that's where you stay. Your consciousness literally becomes your destiny. And they visualize this whole process as a ladder of thinking. The idea is that our consciousness evolves through these different stages, these rungs. Most of us, it says, are hanging out on the lower rungs, focused on material stuff and simple associations. But the whole path of spiritual growth is about climbing this ladder, moving up toward more abstract, unified, and eventually holographic thinking, which is described as a state of consciousness that mirrors the creator. So the main takeaway here is that this is not just some intellectual puzzle. The philosophy claims that as you climb this ladder, as you actually elevate your mode of thinking, you fundamentally change your experience of life and, in the end, the destination of your soul. Every great spiritual journey has that one huge obstacle, right? That big challenge. Well, here it's represented by a metaphorical great river that we all have to cross. And this river, we're told, is fed by our most deeply ingrained human traits, especially our flawed, messed up understanding of love.
The source argues that the way we usually do love is just deeply flawed. It's often selfish and possessive, right? Like we're trying to treat another person like property we can keep in a cage. We wear masks, hiding how we really feel, acting like thieves in the night, just too scared to be vulnerable and real. This twisted version of love is what fills that river of suffering.
So crossing that river means transforming those exact qualities. A soul that's made it to the other shore is one that loves openly, without all that jealousy and possession. They're brave enough to be vulnerable, to be honest, and to be generous. Their thoughts, their words, and their actions are all lined up. That's the transformation you need to make it across. Okay, so you've climbed the ladder, you've crossed the river. What does it look like on the other side? What does a person become? They start to embody what the source calls the qualities of a beautiful soul. Let's take a look at a few of them.
First on the list, appreciation. And we're not just talking about saying thank you. It's deeper. It's described as the actual source, the wellspring of all happiness. It's the foundation that allows you to be in harmony with the Creator, with nature, and with everyone you meet.
Then you have praise. And again, this isn't about empty flattery. Genuinely praising others, or nature, or the Creator is seen as a symbol of a soul that is mentally wealthy and pure. It's the natural way a soul that's full of abundance expresses itself.
Honesty is a huge one, a cornerstone of this beautiful soul. And it's more than just not lying. It's about being so reliable, so solid, that you give the people around you this deep sense of comfort and safety. Next up is kindness. And here it's defined as the active expression of respecting all life. So it's not just a passive feeling of being nice. It's seen as the master key that unlocks true harmony between you and every other living thing. And finally, we get to forgiveness. This one is huge. It's held up as the symbol of a truly magnanimous and mentally healthy soul. The ability to genuinely forgive is the ultimate sign that you have finally, and for good, escaped the currents of that sea of suffering. This final quote really ties the whole thing together. Where our wealth is, so do our souls reside. The bottom line of this whole worldview is this. Whatever you truly value, whether that's money or being right or these qualities of a beautiful soul, that is precisely where your spirit is going to make its home. Your treasure determines your reality. And so that's the big question this philosophy leaves us with, isn't it? If you were to look honestly at what you value and where you put your focus every single day, where is your soul residing right now? That's our explainer for today. Thank you for watching.